You're listening to the Muslim Life Hackers podcast.
Assalamu alaikum, I'm Maheen Malik and welcome to Season 3 of the Muslim Life Hackers podcast. The Muslim Life Hackers podcast brings together individuals from all walks of life to give you their insights on different areas to help you live better, achieve more, and succeed in this life and the next. If you're new to the show, make sure to check out our episode archives over at muslimlifehackers.com, where you'll find all the episodes from Seasons 1 and 2. Now let's get started. Assalamu alaikum Muslim Life Hackers, great to have you back with me for another awesome interview, inshallah. In this episode, I'm going to be talking with Omar Taha. Omar is the founder of Startup Muslim, a global platform connecting experienced minds and startups to create successful ventures, businesses, and network. He has a bucket load of experience in the field of entrepreneurship with nearly 10 years of experience in recruitment and executive search expertise as well. MashaAllah, more of which we'll dive into during our talk. Now, in this episode, Omar and I touch on the essentials for those looking to get into business and venture into entrepreneurship. The really big one, how to even get started with the business, mindset, mistakes to avoid, mentorship, how to pick a field of business, and way, way more, alhamdulillah. Now, if you're a newbie and have been wanting to get your feet wet in the world of business, this is the perfect place to start. And with that being said, let's get right into this interview. Are you looking for quality Islamic content to listen to on the go? If so, check out Muslim Central Audio. Muslim Central Audio is a database for over 7,000 audio lectures, including reminders, debates, and interviews by a range of speakers. You can get access to all this through their website at www.muslimcentralaudio.com or just grab their free mobile app from the iTunes or Google Play Store. Just search up Muslim Central Audio and you're good to go. Okay, Assalamu alaikum Omar, and welcome to the show.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Maheen, I'm very excited to be on the show. Alhamdulillah, Muslim Life Hackers.
Thank you so much for joining us all the way from Dubai, and I know our audience has been really looking forward to an interview of this type, talking about business and whatnot, so I'm sure it's going to be really beneficial for both myself and the audience as well. So just to start off really, really broad, and for our listeners to get to know you a little bit, if someone asks you what you do for the first time and who you are, what would you say to that?
I would definitely say, first off, I'm a Muslim, serial entrepreneur. So I like to start up businesses. I've been doing it since I was 23. Started businesses in consulting. That was my first one, and then I did an e-commerce site, which was later sold to an Indian company. I dabbled a bit in the apps business, been tremendously successful in that. Awesome. Gotten millions of downloads. In addition, at the moment, now getting into the space of teaching Muslims entrepreneurship in the community. Because I feel like there's a lot of gaps in terms of people's impressions of business, money, and so forth, and the actual reality of the situation.
Fantastic. And I love how you describe yourself as a serial entrepreneur. Is it, would you say that's kind of like your personality, liking to move from one thing to another?
Yeah, I was at a conference once, and I said I was a serial entrepreneur, and the woman said it's better than being a serial killer.
Definitely. No, definitely better than being a serial killer.
Yeah.
So I know that you also do a lot of work with startupmuslim.com. Is that tied into your consulting as well?
No, not at all. My consulting was in a recruitment business. I started on Wall Street. That was like my first job in 2004. Right out of university. I went to New York University.
Wall Street, that's pretty big.
Well, yeah, Wall Street. Well, think about the movies where you see the trading floor, people yelling and screaming and all that. Yeah, that was my life.
You were the guy in the back, like yelling and screaming.
Yes. There was a lot of yelling and screaming, even to my bosses. So I did that for a year. The first year was actually really chill. I was just doing research. I was working with currencies. And then they are like, no, you're pretty smart. You should actually do trading currencies. And so I started doing that, and it's another world, right? And as a Muslim, as a non-Muslim, it's very attractive. Like, you get to go to Knicks games, you go to Knicks, that's like the basketball team for New York, for people outside of the United States. And we went to all sports arenas, courtside seats, kind of like what you saw on TV, lobster lunches sent to you on the desk. So it was kind of like living the lifestyle. But, for me, it wasn't like the best place as a Muslim. I just recently got married at the time.
Yeah.
So they would be like, come, invite your wife to to parties or whatever, and I'm like, no, I'm not. No, not her or me are going to that. And then, alhamdulillah, I was able to to stick to going to Jummah and all that, but it was just not very compulsive to being a Muslim. I would I'd leave my house at 5 a.m., get home at 6 p.m. And
so working those really long hours.
Really long hours. I had to answer to a boss and so forth. So I decided, I said, why not sort of make your own path and just become an entrepreneur. I went from being the lowest person right out of university to CEO in a matter of a day when I decided to become an entrepreneur. So,
it's definitely an attractive kind of like transition.
It is. I'm sure there's a meme around there that makes it look very glamorous and so forth, but it's not, sometimes it's not very glamorous, but it's been a decision I made 9 years ago, and alhamdulillah, it's been tremendous. The amount of network, opportunity, just life perspective. I've been able to live all over the world, kind of thing. Not all over the world, in terms of Australia, like where you are, but
it's pretty normal in Australia. It's not that glamorous.
Yeah, but anywhere you sort of have a computer, we live in a time that's like really tremendous, where you could do business, you could do your job, you could counsel people from anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be in New York City. It could be in Dubai, it could be in London, and so forth. So my wife and I, for the last 9 years, we've sort of been nomads. Wherever we kind of wanted to live, we've sort of lived.
Yeah.
So we went to Disney once, and we're like, how cool would it be to live in Orlando, Florida?
Yeah.
And so we lived in Orlando for a year. Then I did Hajj, alhamdulillah, and we went to Umrah, and we're like, oh, how cool would it be to like live near Mecca? So we did that. We lived in Jeddah for some time, and finally sort of settling in Dubai for the last several years. So it's been, alhamdulillah, a tremendous blessing.
Alhamdulillah. That sounds great. Like, it's from Wall Street, now you're like moving around, living where you kind of want as kind of like nomads. That's pretty awesome. So, a lot of our listeners are also curious about, starting their own businesses and living the lives that they kind of want. Like you said, how cool would it be to live in Orlando, or in Jeddah or near Mecca? A lot of our listeners do want to start their own businesses and venture into entrepreneurship as well, and, follow these footsteps. But even just thinking about it, it seems just overwhelming. Like, how did you go from Wall Street to, moving around the world? There's so many different models and strategies and fields. Where can our listeners start?
Sure. I heard a quote the other day that was really inspiring. It was like, business is simple and people are complicated and they overcomplicate it, sort of thing. So the way people first need to start is they need to be decisive. Right. You're always going to hear opposite opinions or conflicting opinions about what you want to do. You have to sort of decide what you want to do and just do it. Right. And I guess that's number one trait, is just be decisive. Always be decisive. The second is focus. So, alhamdulillah, I started Startup Muslim in the last 3 months. And I've been mentoring and helping a lot of Muslims with entrepreneurship. And the biggest mistake that these people are making are they're not focused at all. Like,
so what does that look like? Not being focused?
Yeah, sure. Like, if I could compare it to social media, like you're on Facebook today, and then tomorrow you want to be on Instagram and you want to be on Twitter. Like, people won't start a business, or they think of a business that they want to start, right? Say they want to do an apps business. And then tomorrow someone approaches them and they say, hey, why don't you do Amazon? And they're like all crazy about Amazon tomorrow. And then after Amazon, they're like looking into doing an information product or an ebook or something like that. So that's, I guess, the biggest issue that I'm seeing is that there's a huge lack of focus because people hear conflicting or different opinions, and they don't want to feel left out. So
is that fear of missing out on what's new, what's kind of current?
Yeah. So Muhammad or Ahmed is making money in apps, so I have to do apps, even though I have a really good e-commerce site, like or something like that.
Yeah.
That I think most people do fail in business is because of that. It's just a pure lack of focus on just one thing.
So that's why we don't see as many people succeeding. If we focus on one thing, that will lead to greater success.
Yeah, if you did one thing really, really good, you're bound to be successful. I roughly remember that quote where they're like, average, you'll be performing in front of average people. Do one thing great, and you'll be performing in front of kings. I don't know where that quote came from, but it's just really important for people, and especially Muslim entrepreneurs, is don't fall into the trap of wanting to do multiple things. Just focus on one thing, and inshallah, you're bound to be successful.
That sounds good. Now, you mentioned it a little while earlier while you were talking about focus. How does someone know what they're good at? Like, for example, you mentioned someone's really good at apps. Like, how do you know? And it's kind of like a weird question, but how do you know what you're good at and where you should kind of focus and kind of ignore the kind of background noise and different kind of like strategies and models that are coming out and just kind of honing in on that one thing? Like, how did you know that, you were good at apps? Or
Well, first off, I think no one's really good at anything kind of thing. It's more like,
that's a good fact.
That's not how I look at it in business, right? So you not necessarily have to be good at anything, right? You just have to find out what works and just do it. Like once I found out that my apps business was doing well, I just focused all my attention, all my resources, all my investment just on that to grow it.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. So, and I'm sure there are people way better than me in sort of apps marketing and so forth, but I just focused on something that was going well and just kept investing in it. So what I think my advice to people is, don't worry about being quote unquote good at something, but rather find out what's doing well for you, not anybody else, for you.
Yeah.
And just, rinse and repeat. Just keep repeating that over and over again.
Yeah.
That's called scaling in business, by the way. It's a business term, scaling.
Awesome. Now I know how you mentioned like apps and everything, and I know previously you mentioned that you were into e-commerce. So what happened with e-commerce for you to switch to apps? Like, what was the transition between e-commerce and then apps? Like, how do you know when to switch it up or when to stick it out?
Sure. I was doing my master's in business in 2012. And while I was doing the master's degree, I took an independent study course, and that independent study was just a way for me to do a business plan for an e-commerce site. It was called ESL Employer. It was a job posting site for English teachers.
Yeah.
All over the world. It it gathered momentum really quickly, and I got an offer from an Indian company that wanted to buy it, so I sold it.
Yeah.
And then I decided to go do apps. So
awesome.
There wasn't much thinking. It was like, okay,
yeah,
that
it wasn't
opportunity,
too complex.
Yeah, that opportunity wasn't there anymore. It's time to go do something else.
Fantastic. Now, we did touch on the topic of mindset previously, but can you tell us a bit more about this? Like, what is the importance of mindset when it comes to business? Yeah, there's focus, but what else is it when it comes to leading a business and starting it, going into it?
Sure. So I said first decisiveness. The second is focus, and third, in terms of mindset, is have your teacher. No one is born with knowledge. No one, you have to acquire knowledge, and you should get not many teachers, just say one or two main teachers for you that can help you. First off, stay focused, right? Because once you become an entrepreneur, you no longer have a boss. You don't answer to anybody. So if you slept all day today, right, no one's going to be like, oh, you were late to work today or something like that. So in terms of mindset is realize that you need to be humble enough to realize that you don't know everything, and there's so much knowledge out there that you could be learning, and you should get someone who's done what you've done and just follow them, and follow them, for lack of a better word, religiously, or what's that, consistently.
To a T.
Yeah, to a T. That's the word. I don't want to be sacrilegious. That is really important, because every day there's new things coming out, new opportunities, especially in the times that we're living. And so it's really important to be humble and always be constantly learning. And just a quick point on that, one of my mentors, Kam Mirza, right? He's worth over $500 million.
Yeah.
And
wow.
Last month we went to a seminar, right? He's worth $500 million. Why is he going to a seminar to learn? It was a famous American business speaker. His name was Brian Tracy. And what stood out to me was out of all the people that were there, he was the one person that was paying the most attention, writing the most notes, that sort of thing. He's worth $500 million, sort of. And a lot of times when I, talk to Muslims about business and stuff like that, they tend to be think that they know it all, and they're like, oh, that's a scam. He doesn't know what he's doing. Oh, that's foolish. So it's really important to stay humble and try to acquire as much knowledge as possible, and it'd be best if it's from a teacher.
Fantastic. Just on that point of acquiring knowledge and staying humble and kind of constantly learning, as we saw an example that you mentioned with Brian Tracy, going to a seminar and he's the one who's paying the most attention. What are your thoughts on business courses and online courses? Do they help? Is it something that people should look into? So say, for example, someone is interested in, say, e-commerce. Should they buy a course on e-commerce? What are your thoughts on this?
Sure. I think a lot of it, so first off, knowledge is very good. People should acquire as much knowledge as possible, right? Whether through books, courses, mentorship, definitely you're not going to succeed, almost guaranteed, if you don't acquire the proper knowledge to succeed. So courses are very important. The issue why people don't succeed because of courses, I think is twofold. First off is they think that every piece of information in that course needs to be right. So that if the course is a 10-hour course, from hour 1 to 10, I need to be blown away, right? But that's not really the goal of the course, right? There might be one or two pieces of information that pay for the course 10 times over, right? Just a quick example, when I developed my app, I bought an $8 book, right? It was like a 300-page book, and there were just these 2 points in that entire book that I would have paid $100,000 to learn, right? And it was just in application marketing that, just completely transformed my apps business. Just 2 little subtle points that you wouldn't even know how to find if I told you to look for it in a book.
Yeah.
Right. So I think people's expectations of courses should be, not the entire course should be valuable, but figure out the points that are just going to transform your business and your life and so forth. I guess that's number one. Number two is this goes back to focus. And when I went to that Brian Tracy event, I got to meet one of the most famous business coaches in the world. His name's Alex Jeffries. And I spent 2 hours with him. And what's amazing is that his courses are like $7,000 to $10,000. And he has maybe $20,000 sort of masterminds and so forth. And they're very much worth it. But he was telling me that there are some people that pay $5,000 to $10,000 for a course, and they never even attend. They never even open it up, or maybe they do 1 or 2 modules out of 10.
Why do you think that is?
Oh, it's like Facebook is going off, sending you
and then that momentum
messages,
is gone, and then like you just forget about it.
Your WhatsApp, your emails, the kids, your spouse. So people don't end up completing the course. And it's actually, I don't know what the statistics are, but like 60 or 70% of people that take these courses don't even complete them.
Yeah, that's huge. That's really huge. And I'm guilty of this too. Like I have bought a course that I haven't completely finished as well. And
Yeah. So I mean, was the course bad to you? No, it's just you didn't complete it. So
True.
The course definitely couldn't have benefited you. So I think a lot of times people, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. They're like, this course is not going to get me anywhere. And it definitely won't get you anywhere because you didn't do it or you didn't go through it. And I actually am guilty of that to like the 10th power, because I went and did an MBA, a double master's degree from one
That's a giant course. Yep.
Yeah, that's like the 2-year giant course, and I would not go to classes and stuff and that was very expensive. That was $150,000 over 2 years.
Well, I guess this whole point that we're making about courses and things like that, and people like buying courses, like different ones, like Amazon, e-commerce, books, whatever, and not finishing it. I think it comes back to indecisiveness. Like how do you just stick to one thing? How do you know what thing to stick to, and kind of like just buy a course on that and go for it? I don't know if that question makes sense, but what do you think?
Yeah, you have to have huge self-discipline because, for example, Facebook, right, has algorithms, right, that are just, massive computer scientists, like geniuses, work for Facebook, for example, that they do, I don't know what they do, but their main goal is to get people on Facebook, glued onto Facebook, and nothing else, right? So your feed...
Yeah, they're doing some kind of like magic trick.
Yeah, so your feed is just like very addictive. And,
it's just
for me...
for you,
Yeah, for me, I mean, I have my brother and sister, I have my other family members, I have friends from college, high school, masters, and all that. Anybody that becomes my friend on Facebook, I automatically, what's the thing called where you don't get their news feed anymore?
What's it called? Is it like unfollow or something?
Yeah, unfollow. Yeah.
Yeah.
I automatically unfollow everybody. So when you actually open up my Facebook, it's just a blank screen. My wall is a blank screen.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and you got to realize that, you're not more powerful than Facebook, like in terms of addictiveness. I definitely need Facebook for my businesses, right? Facebook marketing is huge and all that. And for you got to realize your sort of limitations and to, personal limitations. I have actual, I remember when I used to work and the company had blockers where like you couldn't get on certain websites and stuff like that, like CNN or something like that, or BBC News. I put up personal blockers even for websites. So I find myself in the middle of the day doing work, and then I'm like, oh, let me go to BBC News or something like that, and then my personal blocker says, no, this website is blocked here, So yeah, it's for your own good. So you have to realize your personal limitations and set up checks and balances so you don't fall into the trap of getting distracted.
That sounds really good. It's a lot of what we talk about at Muslim Life Hackers is like it's really got to do with getting to know yourself and like knowing like what kind of is your weaknesses, like the middle of the day, it's time to jump on Facebook and kind of counter that so you can get focused on your work.
Yeah, of course.
So if for example you're a newbie and you're kind of just getting started with a business course, and usually you have like Facebook and Twitter and whatnot, your advice would be to have like blockers up, and what else? What kind of environment should a newbie have who's just kind of getting into the business kind of sphere? What kind of environment should they set up for themselves to maximize their, productivity?
Sure. I think the number one thing is just have a mentor. Because,
And how do you find a mentor?
That is a good question.
Yeah, because I know you mentioned yourself and your mentoring, but how would it go about if you're a newbie? Where do you look for one, and how do you know that someone is the right mentor for you?
Sure. Well, I think for me, when I found a mentor, I just found someone that was successful, right? So it wasn't too much rocket science, like successful in whatever I want to be in, right? So you could have a health mentor, right? You could have a relationship mentor, like, so a health mentor is like some guy. Arnold Schwarzenegger would be like the best health mentor, right? Because he was Mr. Olympia for seven times in a row or something like that. No one will know more about their own personal body than someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, so he would be like the best one. And then you sort of work your way down to whoever you can. I'm sure Arnold Schwarzenegger's not
he's like advertising for mentorship.
Yeah. But he's not accessible, but I'm sure there are plenty of other people that would be accessible, right? So you don't, you don't want to, like, if you wanted to lose weight, right? It's really good to have a mentor because they help you get self-discipline and so forth. But you don't want to get somebody who's like just lost weight and they be your mentor. You should get like people that are just outstanding, right? People that are that have
been in the game for a long time,
been in the game
experience,
for a long time and so forth, and have actually gotten results. So if relationships, right? Like say there are problems with your spouse or something like that, and you want to figure this out, you should go to somebody who's been married for like 80 years and has had tremendous success, happy marriage, and in love and so forth, and in business, right? Someone who I mentioned earlier, one of my mentors is Kam Mirza. He's worth $500 million, startup business, like. He's a pure genius, like a genius.
Yeah.
I've studied under top professors, business professors.
How did you get in touch with him? Now I'm curious.
Yeah.
Like, did you just go up to him and be like, "Can you mentor me?"
Well, no. Actually, the way it started was when I first started my company 9 years ago. I sort of was kind of popular in some circles where I was like,
Yeah.
because my recruitment firm was placing people from New York, London, Western countries into Dubai. So everyone was like, oh, cool, Dubai, Palm Islands, Burj Al Arab, that sort of thing. And everybody sort of had sun 365 days of the year. So everybody sort of wanted to come, and my firm got like a lot of popularity. So he actually noticed me on Facebook. And
so he got in contact with you first.
Yeah, he became my friend on Facebook. And actually today, ironically today is, Facebook said, you've been friends with Com 8 years today on Facebook, which is cool.
Yeah.
So he got in touch with me, and then I mean, obviously from his posts, she's driving like a Rolls Royce and Ferrari. I'm like, hey, I should get in touch with him as a Facebook thing. And after that, I talk to him like, probably once every 3 months or some often on sort of the Facebook Messenger, but probably see, because he lives in Dubai. So
so it's kind of like seeing like who's kind of in your circle, what kind of connections you can kind of take advantage of and build a relationship there to find a mentor.
Yeah, exactly. And I also have a couple of other mentors through my university. That like alumni that from my university that were successful, and I just sort of got in touch with. And it's actually a lot easier to find a mentor if you're Muslim too, because Muslims, especially in the West, tend to help each other out in that sort of way. If someone's just starting out and someone is successful, you just tell them, "Assalamu alaikum, hey, I'm trying to do this. I was wondering if I could speak to you about it," and so forth.
Yeah, they tend to be a bit more like open to going for things like that.
Yeah. In Egypt, they wouldn't.
Oh gosh.
They'd be scared you kidnap their kid or something.
Oh, alhamdulillah. So just getting deeper into some of the questions I've got here. One thing that I know is really crippling and kind of disabling for people trying to get into business is kind of conquering this kind of fear and kind of like fear of failure kind of thing, and putting your foot into something where you haven't gone into before. How do you overcome that fear that, say, our listeners might be experiencing?
Yeah, sure. Well, the way the fear happens and stuff like that is more in your head than anything else, right? So, I mean, especially a Western Muslim audience, if you feel in business, I mean, you're not going to go starving. Alhamdulillah. Like, we live in sort of a society and sort of social structure and stuff like that it's not the worst case scenario is if someone said, hey, he tried this business out and it didn't work, right? That's like the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
So, I mean, to really overcome that, there are a couple of strategies that you could be doing, right? You could be doing a lean startup model where you just invest a little bit of capital. There's a book on it, the lean startup, where you invest a little bit of capital, you come up with a business idea. You don't necessarily have to come with a product, right? You just see if there's a market for something. And if you discover that there's a market for something, all you have to do is develop that product or whatever and sell it. And you're almost guaranteed that if it was successful in people actually wanting to buy it, that it's going to be successful when you actually go to market.
Interesting. So you got a little bit of capital, and you kind of like, how do you see, where to test for a market or anything?
Yeah. Well, like look for example, Amazon.com, right? I I read an article the other day, and so this is top of mind, where a guy, multi-millionaire, selling on Amazon.com, right? And this is not an advertisement for Amazon.com, because I do find there's some issues in starting a business through Amazon, but I'm just going to use this example because there's so many Muslims that are into that now.
Into Amazon.com, yeah.
So there's this guy who started like his Amazon business, and what he does is, instead of like getting the products into inventory and hoping people will buy it, is he'll put up an ad on Amazon.com of the product, right?
Okay.
And the ad is up, for a couple of days or something like that. If he notices people buying it, is that he'll send his competitors' product to the people that are buying that particular product. So, for example, so I go on his page and I purchase it. He'll go to his competitor and having his competitor send it to them, and he'll lose like a couple of dollars on it, on each product, but he's proven that there's a market for the product. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, kind of like testing the waters, and like if customers are buying, so that way you know that there's something there.
Yeah. So what you do is just you're comfortable taking a loss temporarily just to prove that there's a market for something.
Now, you touched on the issue of capital, and I know a lot of our listeners will want to know this, but is it possible to start a business without capital, or do you need something?
Well, that's like a very deep question.
This is philosophical, huh?
No, well, there's so much you can do without capital, right? And there's so much you can't do without capital. So it's hypothetically, if someone doesn't have capital, I guess the best business to do is affiliate marketing, right? And not necessarily go to an affiliate site and be an affiliate. You could do it for local businesses. So you go to a local business and you tell them, hey, I'll get you customers, and you just give me commission on each sale.
Just to clarify what affiliate marketing is, could you just explain that just roughly for our listeners?
Yeah, sure. Well, it's basically getting customers to a business, and those customers buying, and you get a commission for each sale.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, and there are people that are millionaires through this model, because they have like a lot of relationships with people through email and through Facebook and so forth, and they know how to do ads, a little bit of ads, because ads cost money. And what ends up happening is that they do sales through affiliate marketing. I know Muslims personally that have made $1 or $2 million just doing affiliate marketing, and it cost them nothing.
Wow, fantastic.
Well, it did cost them. It did cost them ads, right?
Yeah.
Like ads did cost money, but compared to the return, it was just night and day.
Awesome. So I'm gonna get into like the nitty gritty now, and really like kind of probe what we spoke about previously. If I was to tell you that you had $1,000 and a laptop, and you know that you want to go into some kind of business, but you don't know what to go into because there's so much out there. Say, for example, let's go back in time. You're 22 and you got $1,000 and just a laptop. What are you going to do next? What is the exact step that you're going to take next? What kind of business are you going to go do? How do you figure that out? And where do you go from there?
Sure. Okay, so I have $1,000. I have a computer though, right?
Yeah, you have a computer and a fantastic internet connection.
Sure. I personally would do an ebook, right?
Why is that?
Well, I could sell it. So do an ebook of a niche. So, for example, popular niches are health, wealth, and relationships. So,
Interesting.
People spend billions of dollars a year on learning about their health and how to make wealth and how to have good relationships. So like if I'm like a Muslim girl that got married just now, I'm sure there are a lot of sisters that would like to know how to find a husband. So write an ebook, How to Find a Husband, right? And what I would do is, instead of me actually marketing it, I would get affiliates, right? People that would spend their own money to do ads, right? And let them get me customers. So I would recruit maybe 20 or 30 affiliates and have them sell that ebook. I would sell it for like $19.
And where would you sell it?
Where would I sell it?
Yeah. So you've written an ebook, and then you're kind of gonna get advertisers, and then what? You're gonna sell it on?
Yeah. So let's say I didn't want to write the ebook, so I outsourced it to freelancer.com or Upwork.com, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that would probably cost me, say it's like a 20 or 30 page ebook, and then you make it really attractive with a designer and stuff like that. So a 20, 30 page ebook probably cost me $100, and a designer to design the cover, probably like $20, and recruiting affiliates is free. So actually, you're gonna have $880 for your internet connection.
Leftover, counting down.
For your internet connection. And then I would offer the affiliates 50% of each sale, so $10 for each sale, and let them sort of figure out how to advertise it through Facebook, their email lists. You'll get thousands upon thousands of people looking at your ebook, and the most important thing about the whole thing is that the sales page of the ebook is really good. So it's very attractive for people to really want to buy it, right?
Quick question. Where do you find affiliates?
Actually, yesterday, ironically, I started recruiting Muslim affiliates. So you can find them anywhere. Just say, hey, I'm looking for affiliates. Or what you can do is go to like a website like jvzoo.com where affiliates are there. Like, actually, they're waiting for you. You just post your product, right? Tell them how much commission they're getting, and the affiliates will come there. The most important thing is that your sales page is really good, because if it's not, and people are sending traffic and it's not converting, so when I say converting is like it's not making sales on your sales page, people will not promote your product because they're just wasting their time. So, with the $120 for the product, and I'll probably say maybe a $600 to $700 just doing a course on how to write an effective sales letter.
Okay, interesting. It sounds like a good, nice kind of like tight circle that you can work around with, especially if you're a newbie.
Yeah, and if you're a newbie, the glory of what I just said is that you're sleeping, you're awake, you're eating breakfast, you're with your family. This product, this one-time product that you created, is making money for you 24/7.
Awesome.
If you do it right. I mean, more of it is attaining the knowledge of how to sell and making things attractive than anything
and that's
else.
where business courses and having a mentor comes in handy.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But then again, there are courses that actually give you like the actual files, how to write very compelling sales copy and all this, and just people don't follow up on it. I mean, I think we live in a day and age where there's very little scams out there. Actually, because there's so much opportunity out there. Like anybody with a computer, you could be in India or Sri Lanka or, Maldives, where you're like in the middle of the ocean and like no one's there, right? And
Yeah.
you could start these businesses. You don't have to be in America anymore. You could be anywhere. So all you just need to do is acquire the knowledge to implement and execute.
I'm interested to know, yourself personally, when you're looking at, fine-tuning your knowledge on like something like sales marketing or writing copy, what attracts you to one course over the other? What do you look for? Do you look for like reputation or, how new the resources are, or what is it that pushes you towards one course over the other?
That's really a good question. I would say a couple things. Number one is sort of the support that you're going to be getting in the course, right? So
So do you have access to the instructors and things like that?
Access to instructors, that's huge. And community, like, is the course have like a burgeoning community around it? That's number one. And if that community, if there's a community, will I be able to network with it as I'm doing the course? I think that's like really big. So that's why me personally, I've started Startup Muslim is because I really want to build a community. I think if anything, there's going to be so many businesses that I can invest in after people acquire this knowledge and do a good job. There's going to be a lot of head type of ventures that are going to come up, and I would love to be a part of. So going back to your question, in terms of courses, how to choose them is I guess instructor involvement, types of community, and I guess the third one is definitely the reputation of the instructor, right? Because there are instructors that command $30,000-$40,000, like really expensive sort of courses and so forth. And to gain access to them and see who their students are. I like to compare it, a lot of Islamic principles in terms of scholarship can be implemented in business too, right? Like, generally in Islam, like you have, if you want to learn Islam, you should learn it from a scholar.
Yeah.
In a particular madhab, for example. You shouldn't go to different, you shouldn't go to different scholars and sort of compare and contrast. You should just learn it from one source, and then also if a scholar is like really good by his students, right? Like who are his students that have come about and stuff like that. And vice versa. If a student's really good, or like a mini scholar, if by their teacher, kind of thing.
Awesome. That sounds good. So we're kind of getting towards the end of the interview, and I know something that I'm curious about personally, and I'm sure our listeners are too, is like, was there anything that you had to kind of sacrifice while building your business? I know you talked earlier how you came from Wall Street to, running your own business, and did you have to work more hours, or was there a lot of dealing with difficult people, or kind of like hiring on and off people? Like, what were the struggles that you faced when you first started getting into your own business?
No, definitely.
If I were to phrase it better, like, what advice would you give to, say, your own self, like 10 years younger?
Number one, I would definitely say, be humble. Because there's so much to learn, and you should, what I regret doing is I probably should have networked a lot more than what I had done, right? So now any chance I get to go to a conference or go to sort of meeting, sort of to follow people on social media and so forth, I jump at the opportunity now. That's number one. Because it's like, this is a Muslim life hackers, and the business hack, the major business hack is just like follow really good people and just copy them. Do exactly what they're doing, and you've significantly increased your likelihood of success. I guess the second thing I would want to say is, when you go into entrepreneurship, discipline is huge. And I guess it took me several years to come up with, to block, or unfollow people on Facebook and that sort of thing. That took me several years to figure out, and I probably lost several years not being disciplined.
Just being like led by distractions.
Led by distractions, projects delayed, things didn't come out. I could have done things a lot sooner had I not been so distracted.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So was there anything else that, you think is imperative for people to know before they get into business?
Yeah, just follow startupmuslim.com.
Everyone just go there and check out.
And the Facebook page, I think, and then we could go from there, kind of thing. I think you've saw a couple of videos that I've personally done on it, and my main goal is just to add as much value as possible, and to develop a relationship with people through the Facebook page.
Fantastic. So, Omar, something that we ask all of our guests on the show is, what are 3 books that you would recommend on the topic or just about anything? What are 3 books that you would recommend to someone looking to get into business?
Well, the first book in sort of business is that was really good. It's called Your First $100 Million by a guy by the name of Dan Pena. It's a really expensive book. It's like $400 or something like that. But he sort of. It's worth it. Well, it depends, right? Like I said earlier, there are just 1 or 2 fine points in every book that are just gold. But he actually says you can download it. So if you look for it online and just say first 100 million PDF, you could download it. He's already given his permission to do it. He's like, I'm dying. I'm like 70 years old. I'm probably going to die soon. I want this sort of information to spread, kind of thing.
Awesome.
So that's number 1. Number 2 book that was really inspiring. Not inspiring. It was just like sort of makes you realize things about business. And every business person sort of reads it. It's called The Art of War by Sao Tzu.
Nice.
Famous book, but there's a lot of business principles in there, and that's why like most business people end up reading that book, because there is an element of sort of battle strategy in
That's
business.
really interesting.
No, it's completely. It's like mini battles kind of thing.
Yeah, because it's kind of like an everyday struggle. Like it's that discipline, or it's distraction, or it's something that you got to kind of get through. Exactly.
And then there's another book, 48 Laws of Power. That's one of the sort of like different power strategies that.
Is that Robert Greene? Was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely.
They're not necessarily business how-to books, right? I definitely recommend those too. How to do it. They're more like sort of how to think of things in business and how to think about. And I guess honorable mentions. There's one book, The Shortness of Life by Seneca. It's a really old book. Or is it Confessions of a Stoic? One of the books where it just talks about like how life is just so short, and you should be thinking about just making an impact and
doing the most with what you've kind of got.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for them. I've got to definitely check out. The Shortness of Life sounds really good. And Emma, what's one life hack that you'd like to leave our listeners with? Can be about business, can be about just about anything.
Sure. Well, make your prayers, give zakat, make hajj.
All the essentials.
All the essentials. But I guess it's really good to, in business, and I didn't mention this point, and I always tell people this in business, is don't feel a pressure to be innovative, right? Because innovation doesn't come out of nothing. First, copy a good example or emulate a good example, all the way to the boundaries of copyright laws, right? Don't violate any copyright laws or anything.
Go all the way.
As much as you can get away with. If someone developed a e-commerce site that sells your product, do exactly what they did, as much as you can find out and stuff like that, as ethically as possible, and then you can innovate, right? Once you're successful. So I guess I call this business hacking. That's my little term that I always
Nice.
tell people to do. So definitely when you start up in business, inshallah, and I encourage everybody to at least have a side business, because jobs, being an employer, you realize sometimes as an employee you're at the mercy of your employer, and something turns wrong or something like that, you're definitely a very large expense. So it's
kind of leaves you vulnerable sometimes.
Yeah, so it's good to be just independent and be able to learn the skill of being financially stable without relying on a job. So
definitely a skill.
The best way to do that is to business hack and find out good examples of business and just try to shamelessly emulate what they do, exactly what they do. Be Pepsi, right? Like, Coke.
Oh gosh.
There's Coke, and you try whatever you can to be Pepsi, and being Pepsi is not a bad thing. I would trade all my businesses just to be Pepsi. So I guess that's my advice.
No, that's good. Like, definitely don't feel the pressure or the need to do something completely crazy and different. It's fine to kind of copy the models that are out there, and then you can kind of grow your own roots and go a different way possibly.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly. And for your viewers, keep me in your dot, and if anybody has any questions, I'm always available, alhamdulillah, to Muslim entrepreneurs, and I hope to see a lot of successful Muslim businesses.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Omar. And where can our audience get in touch with you and your work and ask you questions if they want? And
Sure. My email address, and don't put this on some spam list, is Omar
we'll
at
try and
Omar,
resist.
Omar at omartaha.com. Omar.
Awesome.
Yeah, Taha. Taha. And Omar, for the South Asian audience, that spells Omar with a U. It's Omar.
Alhamdulillah. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the show, Omar. And there was a lot of great things that you mentioned, business hacking and basically life hacking as well, that I'm sure our audience will really benefit from. And hopefully, it's the first step that they need to kind of get out there and start their own thing.
Yeah, inshallah. And I really want to thank you for Muslim Life Hackers. It's a great initiative. You guys have been doing great work for the last 3 years, and mashallah, Allah bless you guys.
Thanks so much, Omar. All right, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Okay, so that wraps up our episode with Omar Taha on business and getting started. Now, I think one really important note to take away from this interview is the need to be disciplined. Picking something that works for you and just chipping away at it day and day again, not being swayed by every, new knick-knack that crosses your path. And inshallah, you will be successful. Just really sticking with it. Feeling so psyched right now. Great advice, Omar. Now be sure to check out Omar and his work over at startupmuslim.com, and as usual, all the links and resources mentioned in the show will be in the show notes, including how to get in touch with Omar for mentorship and further questions, inshallah. Now until next time, Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you for listening to the Muslim Life Hackers podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to leave a review for us on iTunes by going to muslimlifehackers.com/iTunes.